Hello, and welcome to this episode of Spotlight on the Divorce Expert. And today we're going to be talking specifically to women, which we do a lot on this because that tends to be the type of people that do a lot of research, I think, online, especially when they're going through divorce. So I want to introduce you to my guest today, Shannon McGorry. Shannon has a unique role, I think, and I really love her message. She is the creator of Activate Your Female Genius, and it's a framework that helps you combine clarity building, habit transformation, and strategies to help women stop just being okay and really creating a way forward that's going to bring them into the space that they want to be and the life that they want to live. So just to let you know a little bit about Shannon, she is a PCC level coach. She's she's founder and chief strategist of Love, Strength, and Grace, a women's empowerment coaching firm. So Shannon, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for the invitation, Marty. It's always so great to talk with you.
Well, and I love doing these because this whole idea of divorce and transforming yourself and sort of stepping up into that person you've wanted to be, it's the positive part of divorce, right? That I think a lot of people don't see.
It's true. And I think it comes differently for each of us. I found there's some unique, I should say there's some foundational commonalities across the lanes of divorce, but then there's also their very unique characteristics, right? We're all different people. We all have different family makeups, geographic locations, professions. And so this idea of what's next after divorce is finalized and even through the divorce can be a very unique process and a time when a lot of women especially can feel very alone. Right. And that's where I think professionals in this space can be really helpful. And what I specifically focus on is helping women stop settling for fine and stop kind of just churning in that space of the status quo. And Marty, it was sparked for me because when I was going through my own divorce, my therapist at the time said to me, you can be angry and you can be meh for a little while, but you need to check yourself because how you go through this divorce is going to become the habits. And you want to make sure those are the habits that you want, setting you up for this chapter and the next chapter after that. And that was kind of an aha moment for me. And it's what I help other women also recognize as they navigate divorce now.
So critical. I had a guest that came on. Her name was Nancy Perpall. She came on the podcast. She was an attorney, and her term was "get better, not bitter" when you go through a divorce. And I love that. Yeah,
that's very true.
Really do. Before we get into more about your topic, and I know this is really what we want to highlight. I know you alluded to the fact you went through your own divorce. What got you into this area, this specific area of supporting women through divorce or through any life transition?
I remember the moment where I realized like my life was forever going to be changed and everything that I had thought I had built and worked for was no longer going to be possible in the same way. And so I didn't want to be defined by that moment. I wanted to realize that I could still be fulfilled and happy and peaceful and experience joy. And I still had a whole lot of life to live. And so as I was doing that for myself, I really felt a strong calling to help other women not be defined by that moment of divorce and to not get stuck in that status quo or in what was, but instead, how do we gradually pivot into what can be?
Yeah. Oh, this is where I really feel that there's a difference with divorce professionals. And there's people that have gone through the experience themselves and have that understanding of what it's like for them. We don't know what other people are experiencing. And I think that's one of the great things about coaches. We don't make that assumption that we can get in your head and understand what's going on for you. Our goal is to ask you questions to help you find out the next steps that you want to take. And correct. I can say, it's funny because I went through divorce almost 30 years ago. And the divorce was my decision. We hadn't been married that long. There was no children involved. And we really probably should have just stayed friends. And probably the friendship would have eventually ended. But we decided to get married. And that really escalated the process. I'll tell you that. So I think that even if you wanted the divorce, and even if you're pretty positive about the divorce happening, or you see it's not positive, that's the wrong word, but you see the reasons for it and you understand that there's benefits on the other side. Right. There's still this sense of, well, so what now? Like what,
Yes.
Now, so what now? I'm a divorcee. I've been married and divorced, and I've got a proven track record of 0 wins and 1 loss or 2 losses or whatever it may be. So why do women do that to ourselves? What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's a lot of judgment and criticism and negative self-talk wrapped up in there, right? And I think that's one component. I think the other component is society has us wanting to aspire to certain things, right? That life is more about the destination than the journey. And so if we've checked these boxes, then we must be successful. And so what I help women do is walk that back and really anchor into their values. So what do they value right now, Mardi, in this current chapter of life? Not what they valued growing up, not what they valued or who they needed to be when they were married, or what their work title is, but what actually makes them tick. And yes, of course, we need to be financially, we probably need health insurance, and we probably need benefits, and we need to be able to pay our mortgage or our living expenses. But once those needs are taken care of, then what are the values that you actually want to build your life around?
Right.
And that is where the pivot moment I see women harness that internal power again, and where they start to focus on themselves, not in a selfish way, but they start to make intentional choices versus defaulting because they should, or they have to, or there's expectations from someone else or even from themselves.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the work that we do.
Yeah. And I love that you said something that I believe in, and I don't hear a lot of people saying it. Not the values you had before your marriage, not the values you had during your marriage, but the values now, because values do change over time. And yes. I know so I married late in life, in my 30s and very early 30s. And before that, I had a value of being in a relationship. That was a big value for me, And then once I went through my divorce, that one just kind of dropped off. And yes, I did remarry again, and it was a great second marriage. But the thing is, I didn't ever go back to that value of needing to be in a relationship. Is that what you're talking about, that shift?
I am talking about shift because our identities change. We mature. Once we maybe try something and we actually don't like it. There's a lot of women who are very career driven, and they think when they have children, they should step out of their career and stay home.
Right.
And some women fall in love with that. And some women realize that's not the cloth that they're cut from. And so there can be like these external triggers that make us reevaluate our values. Divorce can be one of them if we see that as that chance or that opportunity. But yes, it is that constant, not every day, but that every so often reevaluation of the values, because the families that were brought up in were very different circumstances than the life we've created.
Yeah.
And who I was when I was married is very different than the woman I was now. I joke every time we talk about this, like my pleather pants in college on a Thursday night, I very much valued those. Now I'm, a 46-year-old woman. I have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. I am not wearing those on a Thursday night. And so we update our wardrobes. We update the coffee that we drink. We update our hairstyles, the way we shop. Like there's so much that we keep, my kitchen counters need to be updated. My bathroom needs to be updated. But are we updating our strategies? Are we keeping up to date with our values? Or are we simply just running based on habit and that should wheel and the expectations?
Yeah, let's
clarify that.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I love talking about this because this is the deep work that it's easy to say I'm fine. And I know that means fine is a 4-letter word, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Laurie Sates has that wonderful podcast, fine is a 4-letter word. But there really is this sense of, well, if I'm getting by, and I'm going to say this because I was in this stage for a while at one point in time in my life. If I'm getting by, if I can pay my bills, if I got enough money that if I want to, splurge and go away for a weekend. I can afford it, and I can, feed my dogs. I don't have kids, so I could, do that kind of stuff. I was fine. And I just felt like I shouldn't really ask for more. Like,
Hmm.
do you see a lot of women after divorce are kind of like, well, this is as good as it's going to get, so I might as well
Yes.
just be happy because there's nothing I can do about it.
There's nothing I can do about it. I shouldn't want more. I should be grateful for what I have. Things could be a lot worse. A lot of people have it much tougher than I do. And so, what I like to do is make the values piece fun. Give them permission to experience some joy and some happiness. And it might be something that costs no money at all. It may be something that they sidelined from years ago, thinking, well, I have to be the responsible adult. I can't possibly take a painting class. And so, how do we infuse a little bit more of that joy and that fun and that ease back into their life? And push that inner critic and that judgment, that self-talk of the negativity,
Mm-hmm.
push that to the side a bit or a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love this because I just got certified in like timeline therapy and NLP
Ah,
and hypnotherapy. And one of the tools that we use is to ask people when they are hearing that inner voice, who's speaking right now? And I
yes.
would say probably 8 out of 10 of my clients say it's my mom. I hear my mom's voice when I hear that, because
Hmm.
I mean, I'm 60. It was a different generation when I grew up. And a lot
Yeah.
of, like, I can remember when my mom started working part time, and she was one of the few moms
Hmm.
that worked part time, and women just, they were expected that they were going to live off their husband's pensions. And that's
Yeah.
not being disparaging of anybody. That's just the way life was then.
Right. And
And
it's
it's
vastly
changed.
different now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm so hopeful for my daughters that they will be having very different conversations with their partners than my mother did with my dad. And that's not, it's one generation on each side of me,
Right.
but the possibility and the hope and the division of labor and all of that, it has such a chance to be so different with each passing day and year.
Yeah. What do you see are some of the common reasons or triggers or issues that bring women to you to work with you? Because I'm sure there's people sitting here thinking, well, this is, I think I might fall into that category. So
Mhm.
what are some of maybe the pressure points or the issues that come up that women say, hey, I got to reach out and talk to Shannon?
Yeah, I think that there are a couple big ones, and they're the obvious ones, like the fear, the feeling of what is going to happen. And lawyers are amazing, and financial analysts are amazing, and therapists are amazing, and everybody has their lane. But divorce is a very complicated puzzle. And I've worked with numerous law firms that say, like, as a coach, if you can help work with our clients, everyone's happier because we're going to bill at a certain billable hour per rate, and we're not supporting them as a coach. And so each person has their lane, right? So to work with a woman who's scared about what her future might look like, and she's kind of stuck and frozen in that space of like, I don't even know who I am. And I
Right.
have many, many women, and I was one of those too. Marty, I didn't even know what I wanted to order for takeout dinner because I had deflected and defaulted to the choices of everyone else. I was the middle of five growing up. I married an older man. I was fine to just, I was fine. I was
Yeah.
fine. It
Yeah.
didn't really matter. And truly, I wasn't unhappy, but I needed to find my own voice again and strengthen that. And to help other women do the same is a pivot point. I think another point of inflection is when women have that feeling of restlessness where it's like there's something, but I don't know what it is, and I certainly don't know how to get there. So what am I doing here? Like I've tried, I've gone on a holiday, I've maybe changed some of my things in my house. I have a girls' night, but nothing is substantially moving the needle in my life.
Right.
That's where coaching can be super supportive as well. And then I think the third entry point is really for the woman who is purpose driven and who is again looking to make changes but wants a strategy and wants accountability. And that's a great space for coaching as well, because something doesn't have to be terribly wrong. You can be fine, but life can be a whole lot better. And so how about the accountability to the work, to the changes, to the shifts that you want to make when we're meeting on a consistent basis, and you have consistent space to, God forbid, hear yourself think,
Yeah.
to say some things out loud, to have someone ask you questions, to explore deeper. What do you really mean by that? And what would it look like? And yes, you want it. Are you willing to do the work it takes to get there?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I would say those are three major inflection points where people reach out and say, hey, what's this coaching thing all about?
Yeah. And I think that as coaching evolves and people recognize there's different types of coaches out there.
Yeah.
And again, this is not to be disparaging to anybody. There are coaches that have certifications, and there are people, let's face it, that just, take a online course and go, I'm a coach. And that's okay too. And they probably do a great job for their clients, whoever those clients may be. But it is important, I think, for people who are looking at coaches to consider, is there some kind of formal training, or is there some kind of adherence to professional and ethical standards? And does the coach have some lived experience in actually supporting clients through this? And I love it when you said you're very clear with your clients, what you do, what you don't do, how you go about the process, and that you like me are not telling anybody what they should do.
Oh, no, absolutely no way. I couldn't possibly. That would be such a disservice to someone. Yeah. I can tell you what's worked for me or how it made me feel. I can give you examples from other women that I've spoken to with complete anonymity.
And then I can never say that word. I just say confidentially. I'm never going to share.
I wouldn't disclose any information.
Yeah.
And I can give suggestions like, hey, you might want to think about, or you might want to try. It usually comes back to, and I know you know this, Marty, but how does she want to feel?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not usually the thing that we want. It's usually the feeling we're going to experience while we are in that thing or with that person or on that something. Yeah. And so asking the questions are the most powerful thing we can do as a coach, because we provide that space for her to really figure it out for herself, which is ultimately the only way it can go.
Yeah. And I like the other thing that you talked about, which was that accountability factor. And here's something like, whatever people do that works for them, I'm for it. So if you do vision boards, do vision boards. But the problem with the vision board is it gives you the end destination, but it doesn't give you the roadmap how to get there. Like you've got
correct.
And that's where, somebody like, this is where people get stuck and find, because yes, I can look over there and see the pictures of Bali and see the pictures of, whatever it is that I put up there, but it's like, how do I get there? Correct. What do I do now? And that's where, or like you said before, I don't deserve that. I want it, but I don't really deserve it.
Correct. And so I think with a coach, you have both of those tracks that are super supportive. You have that consistent space, right? And I know for me, and probably you too, I request when I start working with a client that it's 12 weeks to start, because that's where we see the most consistent runway for change. Right. And it also allows for that very regular accountability. So we're not letting huge lapses of time go by. If you said you were going to do something, we meet the next week and you didn't get to it, then we want to understand why. It's not a judgment. It's not a shame space, but like, what is it that came up? Because a lot of times there's emotional things that are keeping us stuck or holding us back. And we wouldn't necessarily uncover that just by looking at a vision board.
Right. And you're right, because especially during divorce, you do not want to be settling for fine, or you don't want to be whatever the offer is. Okay, I should just be thankful I took this, or I'm getting this. I think divorce is one of those times where people's emotions either break one of two ways. They get super aggressive and they don't understand that you can't ask for the sun and the moon and get it. You might, if you've got a really great partner who's willing to give you that. Sometimes that happens, not all the time. Or sometimes people fight for a while and then get really apathetic, and it's just like, whatever.
Not worth it. Yeah. I've spent all the money. I have no more emotional bandwidth for this. Just make it be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Just get it over with.
And neither space is the best space to make our decisions from, not from anger and not from apathy. We really want to stay in a healthy space, mind, body, soul, and intellect, to be able to navigate the process well and set ourselves up with habits that are going to allow us to step into that next chapter of life versus be completely spent and depleted and
Yeah.
then spend the next 3 months coming out from it. Because, Marty, we all get to the other side of divorce. We all do.
Right. Yeah.
It's just, how do we get there? Are we like crawling across the finish line? Or are we getting through it in a very effective, as healthy as possible, well-supported way that leaves us still standing on the other side?
Yeah. And that's the critical point. It's how
Yeah.
you're right, because we're all going to get through it. It's one of those life experiences that if you have to go through it, there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel at some point in time. And I always say to my clients, when you get through to the divorce, do you want to feel you know where you're going, you know the direction you want to take, you're ready to step into whatever that next chapter is, or do you want to kind of step into this void of, okay, I just got through the battle of the divorce, and now what do I do? Because I think that can be almost as overwhelming as the divorce for a lot of people.
Absolutely correct, because they had that purpose for months, or for some people, unfortunately, years in that fight. And then once that's gone, that leaves not only the lost identity of the partnership, maybe the marital home, maybe joint financial assets, but now the void of that fight identity. And so that can be a double whammy.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Shannon, I have a feeling we could talk about this for a long, long time. Unfortunately, we try to keep these so that people can listen to them as they're going to the grocery store or doing whatever. So what do you think, if you were to talk to a woman and give her kind of your 30-second bit of advice, if she's going through divorce, what would it be?
It would be to provide her with the hope that this too will end, that she is strong enough to get through it, that she will experience better days, and that how she takes care of herself throughout the process, mind, body, soul, spirit, intellect, is going to be of service to her and to those that she loves. And that getting in touch with who she is and what she values, creating space for herself, no matter how short, no matter all the other demands, will again kind of harness that power internally again, versus all of these external circumstances and that chaos of divorce that we can all get really swirled up into. It would be to kind of just grab her by the shoulders and reassure her that she is going to be okay, and this is going to be okay.
What a wonderful way to end this up. Shannon, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your expertise. If people do want to reach out and find out more about what you do or connect with you and work with you, what's the best way to do that?
Sure. My website is called lovestrengthandgrace.com. They can also email direct to me, is Shannon@lovestrengthandgrace.com.
Perfect. I will make sure that gets in the show notes along with all your other social media contacts and everything, so people can follow you, like you, whatever they want to do with you, because you are an absolutely fantastic person. So Shannon, thank you so much for being here. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Spotlight on the Divorce Expert. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And Marty, thanks for all the work you do. You are a fantastic light in this space.